I'll start though. I think with the AI, it kind of, me and Steve talk about it a lot. It feels like it's a radical change emerging in music, right? I remember the time when labels opposed music streaming, not simply because of like the piracy, but because they relied mostly on like physical album sales and digital downloads, right? Like, and most of the revenue was feared that streaming would cannibalize the revenue streams. But now, but once the regulators were able to negotiate the royalty rates, and the business model of streaming eventually became the norm, right? So I feel like until they figure out a way to really monetize the AI thing, which I'm sure they'll probably do, you know what I mean? But I think as of right now, that's what's really making it feel disruptive to me, right? Because there's not a way for the labels to really monetize what's really happening. Again, we see how slow they reacted to the streaming with the Kazaa and the LimeWires and Napster and all of that. So to me, I just think it's one of those situations where who's going to be the first to really negotiate and figure out a way for them to make money? Maybe that's the way it saves us or changes the game. But I just think it can get so far left. It's already has with the AI Drake and all of that other stuff. I'm sure you get into that. But for me, I think a radical change is emerging.
Definite. So real quick, I didn't get to start yet. Ron still has so much information he wanted to get out. He just went, and that's there. That's staying in. We in. Hey everybody, we're back. We're doing this series on AI. We have an interesting panel with us today. We're talking about AI in the music business, not just making music with AI, but AI in the music business. Ron Stu, Senior Vice President of Warner.
Please believe it.
That's right. Senior Vice President of Warner Music. President of Defiant Records, Steve-O.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. In the building, my man Grady, co-creator, co-owner, co-creator, co-everything of C.R.E.A.T.E Labs, helping bring us this informational series now. And of course, the genius himself, Abran, in the building. We're all here to talk about, like I said, the music business. So yes, okay, Ron, you just brought up a great point. Like, how is AI going to help the industry monetize in order to keep signing artists, right, that may use AI, or will labels start to sign AIs as artists? Because that's already kind of started to, they tried that and it didn't work over at Capitol, F and Mecca, right? But that's because they didn't maybe have the right culture behind that particular artist, right? At some point, with the right culture and all of the right things, will potentially labels start to sign AIs?
I'm gonna pass that one to Steve-O. He's on the A&R side of things. Steve-O, what you think about that?
I mean, I think it's inevitable, to be honest. I think our business that we all participate in, this is an old business, right? This is a business that's been around for over 100 years, and it's been monopolized by its own institution, its own rules, codes, practices. So, in one sense, they kind of dominate the global view of how we understand what business is in terms of music and how that export and import really lies across genres. But I think I would say in the grand scheme of it, I feel like AI is just a new technology, and it's just something that it just has to be adaptive. It's going to take time to insert into the way we do business. Our industry is not like other industries like tech or finance that is like ever evolving. We kind of evolve at the rate of our, we are naturally evolving at the rate of our artists, but moreover, we really have to evolve at the rate of the marketplace, right? And that's where that's where you get the intersection of challenges at, right? So I'm always say, yeah, because to Ron's point earlier is like, streaming wasn't a thing when we was in physical. You know what I mean? You got to remember, we come from the era of like physical records, CDs, tapes, vinyls. Even vinyls is like a nostalgic pastime right now. But, when streaming came into the fold, it was like, what is this? That's unrealistic. But we knew, us on this call, because we had sites like that Piff and Mom Mixtapes that was already doing that in their own like segmented niche kind of way. And now we have all these global platforms that kind of produce that. So I just think it's just going to be a matter of time. It's disruptive because, you know, when you're dealing with like intelligence at that level, it's challenging the artist community in a way where everyone's worried about like, what is it in creative and integrity to the creative and art that they're doing, and that's a human thing and da 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 da. But I no matter what's going on, I feel like that's a space that everyone's just gonna have to get jiggy with because there's no way to stop it. It's here. It's, by the way, the fact that it's on, that we can talk about it is like it's been developed for the last 20 years. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
for it to be in the consumer's hands at this level, I feel like it's time for it to be broached. And you know, no one's gonna like it, but they got to deal with it. And I'm from what I've seen and experienced in my own journey, I just believe that it's about, you just got to find a way to integrate and get to it. Like I'm not all the way as immersed and well versed in like what it does and who it is and da 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 da, but I'm super excited to jump in head first and figure out how to get it done, or how to be a part of it, so it could be ahead of the curve and educate our people as opposed to like hating it and trying to get away from it, because all we're gonna do is get boxed out anyway.
That's a fact.
But also just to add on to that, like for record labels, like the AI issue of scale is way more difficult to control than like the Napster or the Kazaa or the LimeWire problem, right? Because that was just about locating and shutting down the distro channels. You know what I'm saying? But the you know, Steve always says, yo, Ron, the internet is fluid. Like it's a copycat machine. The content's anywhere, it's everywhere. And what happens there is like hundreds of thousands of people can do the same thing. They can upload things regularly. So it's just hard to really control, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I think it's how do the labels figure out how to scale that? You know what I'm saying? That's the biggest challenge to me.
But there's ways to do that. Like I love to say, like when the genie's out the bottle, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
It's
And you're putting that toothpaste back.
You can't put it back, bro. And by the way, I think there's a way to do it. I just think, you know, we are not the kind of business that loves change. You know what I'm saying? We're not the type of business that loves new shit. We act like we do, but we don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Every 3 years, we're looking for new superstars. Every year, we're looking for new superstars. So you can't be like, yo, we love change, because there hasn't been a lot of those in the past few years, but we've been forced to based on what the marketplace is doing. So I look at AI as like, it's just a new, exciting opportunity. I'm all for it. Certain parts of it is super scary, but everything is that you don't know or truly understand. You know what I mean? So I just think that the more we are educated and we implement and we try to be wise about and how we can show creatives how to get full use of it and find out where there's, you know, for the business side of it, where the monetization is, everybody gonna be fine. You know what I mean?
But look, the average person with no musical training or production skills, Steve-O, right, will be able to create the songs using AI tools. You know what I'm saying? So the question I have for the room is, does that now water down the music business? You know what I'm saying? Having that option now, because I mean it's already crazy with just the way you upload music and you do all of the stuff now, right? So now with the AI tools involved, now it's literally everybody can do it.
I think it's yes and no. I think it's, look, the way the world is, it's just like when the platforms came, distribution got disrupted, right? It wasn't even about like what you can do, is to your point of like anybody could upload. Like when we go in and we have our conversations around, you know, this is like, I'm always understanding of like the example that I always pose is Beyonce sharing shelf space with someone making a song in a bedroom. It wasn't like that 20 years ago. You couldn't go into Sam Goody Tower Records and do that. You know what I'm saying? Like the shelf space was reserved for, you know, it was space for whoever was paying for it. You know, the major labels had their space, and there was a lot more back then. And the indies had their particular spaces, or they had none at all. But there was no space for like indie, like anybody who was just
Joe Blow
wide coming up, and they can put they shit next to a Beyonce album, a Jay-Z. It just that day is like, that's where the disruption is at. So I feel like in this exercise is going to be about, or this iteration of history is really about like, all right, that's what it is. This is like really just a updated iteration of it. The real question should be like, what is sustainable long term? And I don't have that answer yet. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people are making records and making shit, and you can't tell the difference, but time tells you what shakes out in the wash. You know what I mean? And it's like all these articles about like there's no hip hop albums on that hit number one in top 200 Billboard, or there's no number ones in the Hot 100 that are rap records. I just look at it. The times are different. Like, and I think the guard is changing about like the things that the era we come from, the institution of these things that are kind of controlled by corporation. Those are the people that are unfair. You know what I'm saying? Because those things are controlled, and that's how they make their business run. Is like, I'm like, when I read that article, I said, well, who's in control of that? Like, who makes the metric of what works? Who's counting them shits? Like, is there a bean counter back there saying like what's number one over number two? I saw the top R&B hip hop digital songs this week. 1, 2, and 3 was Pound Town with Nicki, Lotto and Cardi, and then French Montana and Kodak. And between all of them, they were all like within 10,000 a piece in sales that made a difference of the sequence. And I'm just like, well, who and who made those rules? Like, who said that? Nothing against those. We loved all of them, but I was just like, who's making this shit up? But I think when it comes to like AI and like platforms and this digital revolution, it's like nobody's living by no rules. So I think it's an interesting time, and I'm quite interested to see like how this is really gonna pan and shake out, and how it's gonna affect the business that we understood for so long. You know what I mean?
Yeah. To Ron's point though, right? And to your point, right? So we now have where Joe Blow or Jane Blow can share space with Beyonce on the shelf. But to Ron's point, like the difference is now you have Jane and Joe Blow on the same song with Beyonce or Drake or whomever. That's like, okay, there's a distinction between those big artists and these indie artists, even if they're on the same shelf. But if you got Joe Blow featuring Drake and you don't know that that's not Drake, that's really an AI, then is it then going to become oversaturated?
Yeah, right. But I think that's for the older acts. But let's say C.R.E.A.T.E has an artist named Bandman Real, and he comes out and says, you know what, he embraces the idea and starts to release stems, right, for the fans to come in and do a record with him, right? So now you get an artist that's embracing it as opposed to fighting it against it, right? And now that's a whole different energy and a whole different, like, you know what I mean? That to me is the secret sauce to it. The ones that fight it lose, especially if the music business ends up finding out a way to make revenue for it, right? But the artists that embrace it, you know, they look like the cool ones. They look like the ones that's keeping up with the time, keeping up with the trends. You know what I'm saying? So I think and it's going to be the young ones to do it, right? It's going to be the first few to do it, while we're like, you know, we the older ones that are like, oh my God, what is this? But new young kids that's 17, 18 years old is probably like,
they don't care. We touched on this last time, Tat. Like the authenticity, the aspect of it being real, that's an OG, you know, that's a bone that we're picking. Like the younger generations, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they don't care that it's real or not. Nope, not at all.
Yeah, but I think if you're talking about business, right? Because the fear is not, you know, like they can shift it anywhere they want to. Like, yo, we're in fear of the creativity cap. They're fear of like, is this going to dilute our revenues? Right? Look at it from just a holistic business point of view. And I'm like, the easiest way to get in front of that is like, all right, cool. To monetize that, you got to get in front of like what we saw in the earlier record deals back in the days. Like now you're gonna have to add brand and likeness. You know what I'm saying? Where like you get like AI Drake or AI Andre 3000 or AI Biggie. That likeness, brand, and affiliation, that trademark now has to be monetized wherever it's at. And once that's installed, I think no one's gonna have an issue after that.
No, they're gonna have to sign Star Wars deals. So, you know, the James Earl Jones deal of like, I'm signing my likeness to Star Wars to do what they want with it. the Bo-Katan chick that just did Mandalorian, she did the same thing. She was like, dead or alive, I'm giving you my likeness rights to keep going with my likeness. So the artists are gonna have to do the same thing and sign the same deals.
All of them, all performing artists, even posthumously, is like, it's gonna be like, I gave you these rights, and these things are gonna go on and on and on. Now, the ethics of it is where it's gonna come to a crossroads, but in the grand scheme of it, I just think the potential is limitless, and I think the genie's out the bottle again on that one. So I don't really know how they're gonna fix that. I think the only thing you can do is try to relegate any level of aptitude that you could put in place to kind of like protect your likeness or your voice, where they like doing Jay-Z over Nas beats or whatever that is like, the only thing you could do is like, hey, my likeness can either be allowed or not allowed, or if it is allowed, then monetize it and fuck it.
Yep.
You said something, right? The ethics of it is that, and you tell me, I don't know, I'm asking, is that like the evil record label that, you know, the 360, that they're you signing the terms and conditions without reading the terms and conditions, and next thing you know, your likeness is involved but you didn't know it, and then they're spitting out AI songs without you? Or what exactly is the ethics of it?
I think the ethics of it, contracts are contracts. They're black and white. There's nothing tricky in contracts. The only thing tricky about contracts is whoever's signing them never really understand them.
Interpretation.
So in my opinion, you know, I don't have any empathy for anyone who doesn't understand contracts when you sign it, when you can actually read it. Now, if someone promised me something on a handshake and nobody was there, and that shit changes, then yeah, then ethics.
That's dirty pool.
Now it's like it's morality at that point. It's like, yo, bro, like that ain't,
you know what you did.
Beyond that, if you could read it and you be like, I didn't understand this when I signed it because for whatever my situation, that's an excuse. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
I really don't want to hear nothing about that, because I sign contracts all the time, and later on I'll be like, I understood that and they understand that, and that's how they got me. You know, I just bite my lip and be like, you know, I got to take that on the chin, because that's all.
You pay for what you don't know.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And you learn from those, but
learning
curve. I'm just saying, like, in terms of like 360s and what your likeness is like, that's just the way. That's a small institutional basic way of just saying like how the record companies can get in on ground ball. You know what I mean? It's just like Spotify or Apple, like, hey, y'all got to pay us our fee and give us a rate for distribution, because y'all not going to come and take over the thing we control. But I think in lieu of ethics and what it is long term, I mean, that's a generational thing. You know what I mean? I can't speak to that. Like, I'm all for authenticity. I'm all for the integrity of art. And, you know, that there's a fine line in that when it comes to commerce. But, you know, what that turns into, I think hearing these AI voices of people who didn't do them, of our superstars of today, I think that's just them showing the reach and playing with the power of where this is headed.
Correct. Correct.
For sure.
I think
Steve, like where the business is on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Steve touched on every point, literally. Like, hey, as I was just letting him rock and listening, like he said it. He stated it perfect, eloquently. If you can't comprehend what he said, then you know you're gonna have to, like, you know, get yourself checked, because he literally laid it out as far as, like, he spoke from the creative perspective. And then Ron, y'all spoke from the business side as well, which is not figured out overnight, but, you know, and then we touched on the youth. As far as for the youth, this is a tool, right? And so, like, for Abran and myself overall, right, like, you know, we come from entertainment backgrounds, you know, still involved in entertainment, you know, from TV shows. I'm producing Godfather of Harlem or Versus or you name it, everything me and Swiss are doing together. But the bottom line of it is that, you know, I saw what we're doing, same as you guys saw with the music industry overall, right? We saw that, you know, I was a part of, like, records being sold, you know what I mean? Like, DMX first album was recorded in my basement, you know, the first 6 songs, him and Dame Grease recorded in my home studio in Atlanta. And, you know, that's one of the
Vacant Lot, huh?
Yeah, Vacant Lot days. Him and Dame Grease, they came down. Swiss came later up to Yonkers and got that one record in as y'all saw, that was a bet that D did, Steve, Darren, and he betted Earl to do that. God bless his soul. And Earl, he didn't like it, and he did it, and that was the one track my man got on there. But I was there when Grease was in my basement. Him and Earl were there for the whole summer recording because they had to get him out of New York. But my point is, when saying that is, so that I'm coming from that, right? Like, and seeing that level of talent and greatness, and we're talking about this wasn't even done on a 2-track, right? This wasn't even done on the 2-track. This was done on DAT at that time. They was tracking and then bouncing it and transferring. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we're dealing with analog on the most analog level you could think of, right? And then that time frame, right? For us to drop 2 albums in 1 year, right?
That was crazy.
It's Darkest, Hell is Hot. And then Flesh is My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. That was game changing, right? That changed the game. Nobody else did that in hip hop before we did it, right? You got NBA YoungBoy dropping an album every week. You know what I'm saying? Every 2 weeks. So you see the evolution. And so the good thing about us, like all of us on this call, we started young, right? So you see what Steve's saying. He's like, yo, this is great. The genie's out the bottle. As an industry exec, he's like, I love it. I'm here for it. You know what I mean? Because we're still young. We still get that. The tech that was given to us, we created hip hop with it. 2 turntables and a microphone. That's all we had, right? So tech is our ally. It levels the playing field for us, right? The distribution, right. To be true, Steve, you just said it. The labels had that thing locked and sold, man. So if you didn't come through them through the old guards, there was no way that you was able to get your music heard, right? So if you was in the South, that's where Andre and them, all those brothers had to be independent to get it cracking. That's what Master P, No Limit, you know what I'm saying? Cash Money, they had to get it out the mud to get it cracking. They wasn't dependent on us. It was technically New York who had the record business sold up, especially for urban music, right? Like everything was coming from Mary J. Blige, like Puff, like Heavy D and the Boys. It was all coming from East Coast music that was going through the record companies. And so people are going to figure out a way to go around the old guards. You know what I mean? So now the distribution is far and wide. You got the TuneCores of the world. You got the SoundClouds of the world. Then you have the Spotify's, and you name it. And then you could just CD Baby and just, you know what I'm saying? Like, so the artists are able to create. So in one aspect, there's no like the old guards that are able to kind of regulate. So there's an aspect of the quality and quantity thing that we're dealing with from that, right? That's the con of that, I would say. But then the pro of that is that the gates are open and creativity is able to be heard, right? And people are able to live out their dreams. And like you said, Steve, no excuses, right? Before it was, oh, I can't get a deal, right? That was the thing. Now I tell brothers all the time, when they, yo, can you put me on? Put you on. You got it right here from your phone. You could put you on already. If you got a phone, you got an iPhone in your hand, you got a laptop, you're on. You don't need nothing else. So I just think AI, to get back to what we're saying, AI is the natural progression in technology. And that's why I got involved with tech via Abran myself. We got involved with tech and started C.R.E.A.T.E Labs because of that, because I saw how it was all folding and playing out. And we saw that, again, we're the consumers of the technology, consumers of the iPad, of the iPods, the Apple technology. We're consumers, but we're not the creators. So that's what we started C.R.E.A.T.E Labs for, to kind of like give our people and give the culture an entry point, right? And say, hey, this is the technology that's coming, as Tat can attest to. Steve, Ron, we had AI on Clubhouse 3 years ago now, almost 3 years ago. Yeah. It went viral. We had Clara, what everyone is going crazy about, ChatGPT, and they're like, oh, ChatGPT. Literally, we had ChatGPT. Abran developed it and turned it. I said, yo, we just can't have the voice. We need a face to it. Put a face to it and created his own, ours in C.R.E.A.T.E Labs, our own intellectual property known as Clara, who's the woman of color as AI that identifies as a woman of color, right? And we call her Clara. Yeah, and that went viral. We've been picked up on that. She's her own ambassador at this stage. She gets speaking engagements. She was viewed in, Black Enterprise Complex, you name it, right? And she's just like, they've done news. It's crazy. But so that's why I call Abe the Bodie Tony Starks, right? Because he created his own Jarvis, technically, out of this technology. And so for us, that's what we will do if we get access to the tools. So that's what we just like to do, is be ambassadors and say, hey, get with the technology, use the technology. Don't be afraid of the technology. It is a tool. It's here. It's a resource for us to help us and to level the playing field, right? So AI can do the job, and Abe can get into the specifics. AI can do the job of humans in a matter of a blink, right? Like if you all played around, and I suggest everyone, mess with the ChatGPT technology and just, see how it works, right? And get an understanding of it. AI can do the job of humans like this, as far as, you figuring out, algorithms, taking data, information. So it's here to take, relieve the busy work from us and kind of allow it to be, streamlined, allow it to be, fast track, where we don't have to focus on that. Actually, AI is here to help us go more into our creativity. At least that's what the AI told us. I don't know if that was his way of rocking you to sleep. That could have been his way of saying, yo, yeah, this is what I want you to think. But really, we taking over and you guys just, look up at the stars. But in all actuality, I look at it that way, right? And that is what it can do. And that's what it does. All artificial intelligence is another tool that's there to enhance our lifestyles on all levels, right? So in entertainment as well, it just opens up so much. It opens up so many doors for us and allows us to, do things that we never thought we could do, right? Like you said, postmortem, and, we can now have, the Biggie and Pac in my world versus, right? Like imagine, right? Like now, but, things like that we could bring to life. And, in the business side, I'm not going to claim to know that side of it. That's like intellectual property. I think that goes to a bunch of lawyers and legal, and they just, everyone's going to have to, like how they did, like you guys said, with Napster, and, they shut down Napster, but then, what's his name? Sean Parker comes and he's on the board of Spotify or whatever, right? Like, so it came back around. You still had to pay the guy either way, right? Like, it's just, these things, you can't stop it. The genie's out the bottle. You just have to figure it out and play along. The labels, the lawyers, I think they're in a better position and they understand what technology is. They just have to force it to come through the channels somewhat and get control on it, right? It's your likeness, it's your voice. Can't use it without your consent. So it's another revenue stream, and you look at it like another revenue stream. It allows you to be more places, allows you to have more presence. Abe, Mike can touch on some of this, some of the work we're doing with entertainers to broaden their IP, their intellectual property, and allow them to touch more people, right? So, that saying, if I could be in two places at the same time, well, with AI and technology, you actually can, in essence, right? Like you can be in Hong Kong with, an AI digital twin of yourself that speaks like you, talks like you, thinks like you, while you're still here in the US actually doing an in-store, right?
See, that's where it get wild. That's where it gets wild. Okay. So you basically saying you can have a show at the Apollo for New York, and have another show in Cleveland at midnight. Two shows going on.
In essence, I think it would be a little
same time.
Yeah, but you could probably do it at the same time. But I think it would have to be like where we are right now with the technology. I don't know if you guys have seen deepfake technology, right? It's literally like they can have it where it's you, Ron, right now, like walking past all of us. Like we're like, yo, he's sitting there talking. How do he walk past us right now in this conversation? Like, they can have a video that shows you walking the way you walk. And it's like, nah, Ron was here. That's the scary part, I think, of technology, where we're really going to have to get it data stamped, time stamped. A lot of things, precautions are going to have to go in. A lot of real guards are going to have to go in. The voice, right? As we know, sound like you, look like you, moves like you, right? So that's where I think a lot of safeguards have to happen for nefarious reasons. But outside of that, I think as far as the progressive reasons, which allow us to cover more ground and do more work. I just like, honestly, my reason of tech is on some like Star Trek science fiction shit, right? Like I'm a nerd in essence, as far as I love like sci-fi. I love I started this with Silo, right? Like, so I love like anything like, Marvel, tech, that's our thing, me and Abe's thing as well. Like anything that's like creativity to me and now coming to life, things we used to dream of as kids, flying cars, robots, droids. Like, so for me, this is like just allowing things that for part of our childhood and imagination to come to life, right? And that's where we are. So to me, this is the coolest thing. Think about it. The Jetsons literally had a portal you spoke into, and we're speaking like the Jetsons when George would get screamed on
by his boss,
by Space Lead. That's how we're talking right now. You know what I'm saying, Steve? We're talking like that right now.
It's crazy.
That's a fact.
We're in it. The Apple Watch. You're right there.
Dick Tracy.
This is what we're living, man. And I think it's a beautiful time. I do, but as long as we have real guards on it, right? And I don't think it should be just the Wild Wild West. And I don't see it becoming that because of the way our world is structured. We're a world of laws, right? And rules and regulations. So there's going to be some committee that's going to, make the rules of how AI is used and how it should be operated.
You can't stop it, Grady.
It's it's tough when you get into the personality rights. That's the fine line right there, right? Like when you start talking about your likeness and your name and image and identity, that's the part where, because these internet's gonna always push it far. Someone's gonna always go too far to the edge and be like, all right, look, y'all going a little too far, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Did y'all see that?
Not to cut you off, Ron, but as long as it's on the platforms that are still managed, right? Like if it's on Google, right? Google's going to put it down, right? You got right now, you can't put technically certain things up there proprietary. You have to really, go hard to find proprietary information, right? Like you put it up, they're going to say DMC, boom, that's out of there, right? So
the AI Drake was streamed 15 million times before they took it down.
Yeah.
So
it's the beginning. It's the beginning. They're gonna get it tighter. Yeah. Trust me. It's not gonna be where they're gonna have AI that's looking at AI, right? Like it's just gonna be what it is, man. It's just the early stages. They're figuring it out. And that was a good thing, right? Like, so again, instead of saying shut it down, look, if the label would have said, hey, actually, that's our song. We own it. Keep it going. You know what I mean? It streamed 15 million. Let's get that to 1 billion. Right?
Ron, Steve, let me ask you a question then. If that song, that the AI Drake song charts, gets nominated for a Grammy, wins a Grammy, the guy that made the AI song, does he get producer credit, writer credit? Does he get a piece of that bag from it chart?
I'm not here to decide that. What I can tell you is that happens. Again, new iteration of the genie out the bottle.
Correct.
And what that does is, in my opinion, that's gonna, if something like that happens or doesn't happen, two sides of that will take shape. Either it will debunk the award show contemporary understanding of how these things are chosen and true creativity, or it could be like they're gonna toss that shit out and not allow that in there and try to bar it and be kind of socialist like everyone else is and say, well, this is just our club for us bias type shit, and that pans out long term. You know what I'm saying?
Because again, it's the personality rights. It can't go that far. It's the personality rights. You use them. You use it. You haven't. It's commercial use of my identity.
The only thing that can stop this are the cease and desist
Beyonce or whoever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, they got to pull it down. They can't. Come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I say with the internet, someone's going to go too far. Like, to your point, right? Someone's going to push the envelope all the way to the edge and be like, and then now you got like something charting, and this is like, come on, fam. You know, so did y'all see the tweet from this dude? I think it was Grimes, I guess his name was, when he was like, I'll split 50% of my royalties and success with anybody that wants to do a song using my voice. Same deal as I would as any artist I collab with. Feel free to use my voice without penalty. See, that's the new artist thinking. That's what I was saying. Like that to me is where it becomes. Let me use that as extra promotion to get my voice out there.
But
that's what's gonna happen, Ron. That's the wave. Like that's just this level of what's gonna happen. But that exactly if the great minds just start thinking of ways to utilize it and involve it in their marketing, involve it in their, in their promotion, involve it in their production, and just use it as a tool. I think right now at the early stages, that's what it's here for.
It might go beyond that though, because that's like someone who wants to be a producer that's taking the vocal elements that they gave free license to a Grimes, like, oh, she's advertising that's like a Chris Guetta, you know what I mean? Like a David Guetta, like, oh, make a hit track with my voice. You don't need me in the studio for it. But what 50, I think we're gonna
split.
Yeah, but what I think we're gonna find with this younger generation, they're already used to on-demand content. I went to a Questlove panel at the hip hop photo exhibit on 21st, and Mohan was there, who's the head of innovation for Spotify. And I was talking with the dude at Spotify, and I was like, someone's gonna give a bag to Drake, like a 9-figure bag, whether it's Spotify, Google, or a label, to buy out his rights, his likeness rights, and then let people make on-demand Drake content. So like fans can just go on a platform and just make, instead of going on to listen to tracks that he made, they're just going to go on there and make their own Drake tracks, and then just make on-demand Drake music.
That can be easily the new evolution of our business. It's not. I mean, look,
that would be insane.
Insane.
I could do it right now. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna happen. If it could be done right now, someone's gonna just offer the bag and be like, all right, give us your likeness rights, and we'll just let folks text prompt songs that you make all day. Give me a Drake hit at 100 BPMs. That's, has an R&B up-tempo vibe, and then boom, in 30 seconds it's made.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit is crazy.
Yeah, look, and if there's real guards, there's real guards, what I'm not saying I'm down for piracy, but I'm down for evolution. I love evolution. And whatever new innovative way and innovation, man, if whatever disruptive innovation that happens that allows more creatives, I just don't see it as a negative thing, man. I see it as taking something that it allows your fans and people to truly like engage with you in another way. Listen.
I agree with that.
At the end of the day, the talent is always going to be the talent, right? Like in my theory, right? And this is us just all speaking hypothetically. If you say the music is the music that is created for fans create, and it's fun, and it's just them, taking and using the voice and doing whatever they want to do with it, and a billion people make a billion songs, right? But it still goes through the similar pipelines, right? But how much more value, and I guess this is a question, right? We have to ask ourselves, how much more value, or does it devalue the original? I always thought imitation is flattery, right? So me personally, my thought is it would add more value to the original, right? So now the value of having an original Drake or, Kanye, you name it, that artist, that song, it goes up in value because the rest of these are just all imitations. So whoever Drake has that actual right master, this is me. You wanted a real Drake song. Now, what's the value of that? Or does it devalue?
No. So my wife is a diehard Whitney fan. I have a bin up here in the attic. It's like 200 pounds of like Whitney memorabilia, right? So as a gift to her, I make her like playlists and stuff. I'm gonna make a whole Whitney album of Whitney covers of like contemporary songs that have come out after Whitney passed. So I'm gonna have Whitney covering Beyonce, Whitney covering Alicia, and it's just gonna be something that I'm just gonna make her. I'm not putting it out there. I'm not trying to be a producer. I'm not trying to post it on Spotify. It's just something that I'm gonna make her for our own leisure and listening, purposes. So if I could do that right now, I could do that in an hour after our podcast. Amazing. That's the future. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. It's like DJs doing blends.
Correct.
Day all over again. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Sheesh. In my opinion, I just look, man, there's two sides of this. I think we're all on the same page. It's inevitable. Can't change it. Big picture is, who does that offend? And what's morally, ethically right or wrong? You know what I'm saying? In lieu of that, right? Because to your point, Grady, when you talk about like the original versus the imitation, I'm in y'all era and in y'all generation, so I'm not at that space where I can fully I can understand it, I can be with it, but I don't know, I know who my favorite artists are. I don't know how I personally feel about that off top, not knowing that it's authentic and not knowing how much of it I'm going to truly enjoy knowing that it's an imitation. But to each is his own, and it's a new day. I just think it's two sides of a conversation, one being what's right or wrong, ethically and morally, and the other side is what is fuel to the bottom line of business. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But think about it like this, because there's content that you want that you have to wait for someone else to make right now, right? So I want to see a Denzel action movie where he's in his 30s. Right now he's in his 60s. You know what I mean? With AI, you can have him make a blockbuster summer flick and de-age him in his 30s with AI. I want to see a collab between Wu-Tang and Eminem. When's that going to happen? If for me to want that to happen, I got to wait for both camps to figure out the money, figure out a collab, get in the studio, make it happen. And I could either do that or I could just go and make the track myself. You know what I mean? So this new generation is learning the toolkit to just make it themselves instead of waiting around for people to go and make the content that they're waiting for.
And again, I agree with that, but I think there's nothing like the real thing. That's
right.
just
I'm about to say, yeah. Then the Jadaverse plays. I did real songs with Big, not no made up shit. So it's are we, or is that just us being the old guys in the room? A
little bit.
Have some fun with it and do what Abran is talking about.
No, so there's this little story for both, though. I think there's room for both. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that can be one layer, but that's what I was asking you guys, and asking all of us. Does it devalue or does it make it's like the master of artwork, right? The master print. There's the master. Owning that master that's the flex, right? There's prints of so many Monets across the world. There's prints of so many, art pieces across the world. But that master, whoever's sitting and has that on their wall, that's the flex. Doesn't matter how many prints and imitations there are.
I think it's the NFT argument, right? You're making a JPEG, and why would I want that when anybody can copy it? But the NFT is the certificate on the blockchain, right? Certification of that thing digitally that you can't copy or put anywhere else. So you can have all of these copies and it will bring more value to that certified thing as long as people are in the mindset of looking at the digital certified thing and not just the thing on the wall that we're used to throughout time as of now, which will lead to blockchain as a whole becoming more involved in this as AI inundates and floods every market for everything between film, TV, audio, music, everything, right? So the two will go hand in hand, and that's when that value will flesh out. And that Drake album is on the blockchain. That's the one we want. But I do love listening to all of these covers over here that every 16-year-old made, or whomever the artist is, may not be Drake at the time. Sorry, Bron, go ahead.
Well, speaking of Whitney and NFTs, to Grady's point, your boy dropped the Whitney demo recording from when she was 17 years old as a one of one that sold for $1 million. Love. Shout out to Chris Dye. You know what I mean? So and that was that added value because there was only one recording of that authentic recording that was never released, and now there's one owner of that. As an NFT.
Yeah, I think every market's going to find its stabilization, right? It's just That's just that's the inevitable as well, right? So I think with AI, it's gonna stabilize, and even in the entertainment industry. And I think there's gonna be a level of authenticity that people still want, right? And it's gonna make it coveted. Again, to Steve-O's point though, right? Like, can it become the vinyl, right? Can it become the, like, okay, it's a nostalgic thing, right? To hear that original performance from that said artist you like, right? But me personally, I think it just adds a value. That's how I see it. I see it as it adds a value. It adds a deeper engagement for both the consumer, the talent / artist, and their fan / consumer. It allows their fan consumer to engage in ways that they've never been able to engage. Like, come on, if it's governed by the label, hey, make this song, remake your version of this song, right? Like, that's like, it's a new frontier. That's all I see it as, and that's just my take on it, right? Like, I'm not saying.
Did you hear about the Beatles story?
No.
So Paul McCartney is making one final Beatles record with AI to add John Lennon to the album, to the record.
Well, they actually have vocals of John Lennon, but they were very degraded, and they were going to put this out like 20 years ago, and Ringo was like, nah, John is too degraded, we're not going to do it. And now through AI, they're like, nah, it's now perfect, let's put it out.
Now that's different. Like, I'm not mad at that.
Because it's like the original creator. It's just an enhancement.
But that's the thing. It's endless possibilities of what the technology can do, right?
Absolutely.
That's the overall, right? And there's so many ways it could be used. It's kind of like,
but it's also the cosign though that changes the perception. Because like if a cat in his dorm room is doing it, then it's unethical, right? But then if Spivey puts out an AI track with X, then it's close and it's green lit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The only thing we really arguing is, again, new frontier. The only thing that's to argue is what's ethically and morally right. But it's all about who's the content controller, who's the stakeholders in it. You know what I mean? Who are the shareholders? And whatever that is, I just know what we're on. I'm really more excited about what that technology and how that's going to scale the opportunities in music, how that's going to create new platforms in music. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the metric by which I take care of my family. So that whole iteration and that new phase of business is fascinating to me. You know what I'm saying? So, all of us, and I know between Ron and I and our team, like we're actively trying to find a way to get into that, because we know what that's going to be to come, and it's just about just being in it and trying to learn as much as you can, as opposed to be opposed to it. A lot of our colleagues throughout the business, when you hear that, they're taken aback. It's like, when you hear Bruno Mars AI version or Drake AI version, the first thing you do, you're appalled by it. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, what does that mean for the creator, the touring artist, and the art of artist development, and the art of
right,
all of those things? And my answer to all those things is, like, we have to adapt to the new world, whether you like it or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I tell people, technology is on the forefront of how we shaped our business. Like, what they don't remember is in like the 1800s into like the early 1900s, there was no such thing as recorded music. Recorded music is actually a technology of live performance music. You know what I'm saying? Right. And when that came in, people were appalled by recorded music. It's like, that's not the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, how could you record it and replay it later? Like, that's disgusting. Right. The composers and the line sheets and the whatever. So I just look at it that. You know what I'm saying? When you really look at it in hindsight.
For me, the biggest challenge for me or impact for me is the content curation part of it. Like, with all the amounts of music and available online, the AI algorithms can create like a playlist. Like, radio stations can have like tailored individual tastes for once. You know what I'm saying? That's the part where it gets a little tricky for me, right? Like does that then enable the music streaming companies to deliver more personalized experience, for the users to keep them more engaged now? You know what I'm saying? That's the part where I think it gets a little scary, right? Like who uses it in that regards to really control the listeners? You know what I'm saying? Outside of the creators, right? More so on the content curation side.
Yo, you know what's crazy? You know how crazy this new generation is? There's a website that curates Spotify playlists with songs that have 0 streams. Every song on the website is a 0 stream, has never been heard before. It's a 0 stream site. And as soon as you listen to it, they take it off the website. And they have the same thing for YouTube. You can watch YouTube videos that all have 0 views. And as soon as you watch it, it's gone. So like they're almost like the opposite end of the spectrum. Like they're just looking for weird shit to listen to.
Right.
Not necessarily stuff that's co-signed by labels or that's done by major A-list celebrities. They're just looking for interesting stuff to check out, whether it's real or not, or whether it's popping or not. Like it's a crazy time from a content perspective.
That's hilarious.
Did y'all know that a couple weeks back there was a story that came out that Spotify had to flush 7% of the songs on their platform? They were AI. 7% of the songs. You know what I mean? That's probably a couple hundred already.
Wow.
We're getting ready to get to that point where we got to figure this out because it's here. It's here.
I ain't even gonna lie, that shit got me hyped.
Yeah, I'm with you, Steve. Like I think Tat, you got the this you needed someone that was like, we needed like the Bill O'Reilly and this crew, because we're all like kind of on the same page, man. There's no opposition. We're all excited.
Well, no, I mean the last time we did this, so I brought up some of this, and our conundrum was like, nah, like this is gonna get pushed back from like oversaturation. So your point of it, like bringing up the value, an artist isn't gonna want it to happen. Like Drake's not gonna sign that deal because he doesn't want to oversaturate the market with his sound. The same way an artist is gonna take a 2-3 year break.
That's contradicting.
To create scarcity.
He doesn't want to saturate. Jesus Christ. 12 years of this guy. But go ahead,
a little too late for that.
Well, I don't know. Like the label's going to take one perspective, like, nah, we don't want you out there too much. But then, like the Netflix watchers, they're like, give me more.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the right strategy?
That's a good question. What is the right strategy? I mean, there's no.
It goes back to the youth, man. It all starts with the youth. It ain't even about the guys that led the 2010s. This could be the new wave of the 2020s, right? This could be that leading up to the next decade, right?
Correct.
So I think that's where it lands. And I think for us, because we're so used to everything, look, we're not surprised by anything anymore. So with all of us over here, we're just like, come on, who knew we would be riding in an Uber, letting a stranger drive us around, or living in someone's crib that we don't even know as an Airbnb. And then you're telling us about AI. So we're like, bring it on. Like, how can we make money off it? How can we be ahead of it? How can we add it to what we do in our regular day to day? You know what I'm saying? At least that's how I'm thinking about it. That's why I'm like, is it, how can it enhance radio, my radio relationships, or you know what I mean? So I don't know. I just think for us, we have seen so many different things already that we're not even fazed by it, on the negative side.
Correct.
Could you imagine AI doing radio drops instead of the artists?
We're doing that right now. Sorry,
yeah.
Now you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So now,
actually,
hey, Abran, so look, this is what I need. I need 5 Drake drops. Right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna send to some of my key guys, like, your fam, I just got you a drop from Drizzy.
Son, I got you.
You see, Ron, Steve, like that's the value of the original versus you see what I'm saying? So I think when it just becomes like, just rip the Band-Aid off and say like, yo, we're playing in this space, right? Do you want the AI drop or do you want the original? See, now people can flex and be like, yo, I got the original. I got, like, now they could really, like, flex will be like, keep your AI drop over there.
Nah, but I'm assuming the ones Drake, the one Tad is doing right now, I'm assuming it's fake anyway.
Drop right here, right now.
I'm assuming Tad already spliced up that Khaled drop anyway. I'm thinking he
But either way, God, it's gonna just add a whole nother layer, right? That's it.
Yeah.
Like
I know DJs is gonna use a Drake drop in like Biloxi.
The drops are gonna be fire too. They're gonna be fire. They're gonna be happy with them. Look, this is the drop that's approved by the talent, right? The AI drops gotta come from they're approved from the talent. But
Grady ain't nothing to prove, fam. I'm getting me a Drake drop and I'm putting it on the air like he is my guy. Like he said this to me personally. You know what I'm saying?
The drop is like, I come to your house every Thanksgiving. We're family.
I think there's still a value.
I can do a whole radio interview with Drake. You know what I mean? Like I
think there's a value in authenticity, though. I still think there's a value. You know, everyone still loves, like, you know, my kid, he's 11 and he's, you know, all tech and, you know, he's in that space. But he there's even in their world, they love certain things. It has to be authentic. It still excites them. It's like, wow, you know, we traded the Pokemon or whatever it is they're into at the time. They're like, that authentic one means something.
But Gray, we made the Spider-Man AI, right? You think he cares that it's not Tom Holland? Nope. You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna rock with the Spider-Man AI and talk to the Spider-Man AI that we made, and not care that it's not Shameik Moore, not care that it's not Tom Holland.
To Grady's point, should Tom Holland pull up or Shameik Moore, he's gonna be a little bit more excited.
Yeah. Wait, Shameik Moore is the new Spider-Man?
Yeah, he's the voice of Miles Morales in the Spider-Verse, the animated one.
He's the voice.
Oh, who's Raekwon?
Well, Raekwon from the series of Wu is Shameik Moore. Yes, same guy.
Oh wow!
He's been doing this thing. He actually wants to play live action Miles Morales, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, Shameik.
But he crushed it on the Into the Spider-Verse part.
No, he's killed it. Both of them so far is phenomenal. Great Miles Morales representation on the screen in the animated form.
He's on the cover of Level, Grady, or Jermaine's magazine.
You put him on?
Yeah, they did a dope Spider-Man cover with Shameik.
Fire. I mean, I just think, again, this just to me, I think, you know, not to beat a dead horse, but, you know, I just think it just adds value. It adds so much value. Again, what and how exactly is yet to be proven, and we will see as time unfolds. But we're gonna feel it firsthand, very fast. You know what I mean? And like I think everyone here is saying the right thing to embrace it, to, you know, not be opposed, not look down on it or look at it like it's a sore thumb, because, you know, if you do that, you're going to be left way in the back burner. But as long as, you know, all of us here are keeping like an open mind and we're like, yo, we're excited, it's dope. I can't, you know, let's figure it out and keep trying to use applications and pay attention to what the youth are doing with it. I think that's going to be the key components right there. And it's going to be a game changer. We're going to have fun. And it's going to create more revenue. It's going to create more opportunities. It's just going to make people's lives and jobs easier. It's going to be another layer. That's all it is. It's another layer, man. And I'm here for it, like everyone else here on this call is.
100%.
Agreed.
I think it's going to come to, you know, we're going to have some more evolution of it, and it's going to be even easier in people's hands to create these things. Like right now, the songs that are coming out are people actually running engines, right? That not everybody does that, but at some point it'll be an app that, oh, I want to do this, and you can snap of a finger, we'll have that saturation like we talked about, and then blockchain will get involved and we'll have that authenticity of the actual original, and there'll be a separation and everybody will be fine with it.
That's it. But look, I ain't going to go here too much. I don't want to go here. You see, this is where I shouldn't really go there because I'm an advocate for AI and technology integration into the culture. But, now when AI's intelligence becomes the level where it's creating on its own and there is no human controller. You know what I mean? And then AI probably decides and says, you know what? Get the human out of here, man. We don't want that human doing this song.
That genie's out the bottle already.
That genie's out the bottle, Steve.
Well, that genie is a little still in the bottle, but I think once quantum computing comes in, it's over.
It's over.
Bro, my son at Tesla Elon is making robots that can already do all like levels of human function. Like they're selling them at retail. You can get a humanoid at $135,000.
Correct.
So, well, there's actually several companies that are doing that right now, and the automation in that form is going to be, taking over in the next 5 years. Hard body. People about to lose jobs.
I think you're wrong. I think it's going to be faster than that.
Correct.
Well, when I say the next 5 years, I mean like you're going to see robots walking down the street on the day-to-day. You're going to see jobs. You're going to see all of that. And, people they'll still have their value, but they won't be unless they have figured out how to utilize that AI and figured out how to use those robots, then they're, going to be in a bad place.
Correct. But when the AI and robots have control, that's more the concern. Other than that, right now, of a utilization standpoint, it's just going to be a fun ride. And then once we're like, damn, system system control, no control, system lock. Damn, why we can't upload to the server? Why it's not allowing us? Y'all doing that? And with Steve, y'all got to start making that call. Like, damn, we tried to upload the authentic song. It won't allow us to upload the authentic song. That's a different conversation.
Listen, I'm a fan of the Matrix, and what I understand there, I just like, man, I just can't believe I'm in the era that I'm alive, and that is reality.
Right around the corner.
It's a possibility, 100%. And this is why every chance I get, I say learn STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, because it's a multitude of things, right? It's you keeping your job, you figuring out these things faster. But even on a tinfoil hat and like, say, Skynet happens, right? Say the Matrix happens, right? You want to have enough of a base of a knowledge to navigate safely in that world, maybe even, be able to fight back. So get your STEM on, learn as much as you can, because one, it's never too late, and two, before it's too late.
Correct.
Damn. Cool.
We can't just chill and like, my hustle is this, because your hustle is going to be co-opted by AI within the next couple of years. I used to tell people, you got to retrain yourself, learn a new skill like every 5 years, every 7 years. Now it's like every year. And like, no matter what your job is, it's going to have some level of automation that's going to replace most of us in this role. And most people are uncomfortable with that. Most folks, especially at our age, they're like, nah.
I'm about to say, at our age, yes, for sure.
Yeah, they're like, nah, I already learned what I learned.
You're talking about DJs, bro. Like, Abran could probably tell you better than I'm explaining, but like DJs can be that could be super obsolete right now with AI technology. Super obsolete.
But we saw this happen with the DJs, because I remember back in the street team days, helping flex with crates, helping see with crates, and then you see a cat walk in holding just a laptop. And they were like folks that were holding on. They're like, nah, I'm going to bring my crates. And then now everyone's bringing laptops. You know what I mean? And like soon, it's just they have to let go of the old guard they're like, damn, now I got to learn Serato because my back is fucking killing me right now because, these crates are getting kind of heavy. And I've seen all these cats roll up with a laptop. You know what I mean? Then they had to teach themselves Serato, even though they were reluctant to. Now it's the same shit. These things, Jazzy Jeff brought up a great point. There's some new thing called sync, right? There's like some type of like sync plug-in for DJs now that are like automate sync with AI and lining up tracks and blending them. And they're like, oh, what do you think about that? He was like, past the first couple hundred people that actually see you spinning, when you're an audience of 10,000, no one knows what the fuck.
No one's going to know the difference.
No one's going to know the difference.
That's
like
my
person
point.
In the back row doesn't know what the fuck you're using. So
imagine on radio. That's my point. That's what I was saying, Abe. Like, who you talking to? Which DJ are you trying to really talk to? If you're a radio promo, you're only speaking to the program director and mix show director at that point. That's it. Yeah. You don't need to take the DJ to dinner. You don't got exclusive giving you this record first and all this. Like it ain't gonna hold no weight when it's just automated. When it's automated, you know what I'm saying? They got playlists already done, already mixed.
I mean, that's a tag question, I don't know how radio's staying relevant right now with all this and what internal meetings y'all are having at the leadership level to kind of figure this space out,
Well, I'm blessed to be by one of the smartest in the game, and he's been doing it for so long and staying at the top, and that's going to continue to happen. So I'm not as worried, but yeah, there's definitely some worry in the industry as a whole. These gentlemen can tell you the radio industry is not what it used to be. So hanging on is something that we strive for every day, and making sure that not us per se, but because we are in this industry, we want all radio people to live. So we're trying to figure out how people can live and stay in the game relevant every day. I mean, one of the things is, we're super big in cars, right? When the self-driving thing happens and people are more in the backseat playing PlayStation versus turning their tuner, I think that's when there's a conversation for a little bit more being in trouble. But to that point, right? To the overall point, right? Apple just launched the Vision Pro, right? Which is bringing more sight to the headset game for VR and AR, but VR specifically, right? That's going to start becoming more and more and more of a thing. And then when things become in the metaverse, does AI take more control then, versus humanity? Because then you really won't know the difference, right? Then there's really going to be like, I thought I was talking to somebody and the whole time I was talking to an AI, or I thought I was listening to the radio and the whole time I was talking to an AI. Like, do we think that, I don't even know what I want to ask, right? Because I just feel like I see like that on the horizon. Is that the danger zone, or is that just more of we got to embrace it and figure it out?
Combination.
Yeah.
Again, it's going to be regulation, man. There's going to be regulation. Nothing's just going to be nilly-willy, just the way, just people just freestyling. It's not going to be that. There's going to be.
Well, great. I think it's going to be that for a second. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be that for at least a good minute until, like I said, someone's just going to go too far. That's just how it is. Some artist, somebody's just going to go too far where it's just like, all right, enough. We got to regulate this, figure this out. You know what I'm saying? Something's going to happen. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but someone's just going to go. I don't know if it's if Hove or somebody just starts to complain, it's like, listen, no one's using my voice. Don't touch my voice. Don't touch B's voice. Someone's going to go too far and force everyone's hand to be like, all right, we got to figure this out, y'all. The jig is up.
Yeah. It's definitely gonna go there, but it's just like it's gonna be regulated. I just don't think you could stop it. Like Steve said, the genie's out the bottle. It's there. It's gonna be integrated. There's no way around that. It's gonna be integrated. It's just, it's just gonna be regulated. That's all that's gonna happen, and it's in every industry, right? It's not even just entertainment. The real deal is, us as guys that are. We understand the business side of things too on certain levels, and then we understand creative. But it's really like guys that are, the dangerous people are people that's all about the P&L and bottom line, right? those are the people that are very dangerous, right? When they're just saying, yo, P&L, bottom line, get rid of this. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need this, right? Shareholders are happy because overhead decreased by 45%. That's the dangerous people. Yeah. It's not the creative kid. You know what I'm saying? The creative kid is creating.
There's so many potential bags though. So who was the cat that like passed up $500,000 to do a lunch with Jay? He was like, you can either get 500,000, you can with Hove, right? Yeah. So he took the lunch. So if you have a Vision Pro on, I can build right now a Q&A sit down with Hove. You know what I mean? And like, I could charge what? $50 a session, $100 a session, $200. Like, what are people willing to pay to have like an open-ended sit down meet and greet with a Hove hologram wearing the Vision Pro? You know what I mean? Like, that's a bag for Hove on that.
Those are endless, but those are people. Yeah, if you're looking at it from that perspective, again, that's not the problem. The problem is, you know, when we're talking about jobs and we're talking about like, you know, laying off whole departments, laying off whole, you know, that's where it gets concerning. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it really gets concerning. It's the people that care about the P&L, man. It's just the board. It's your board of directors. It's the CEO and the CFO, man. It's not the again, the kid that's creating is not the danger. The kid that's creating AI duplicates or playing with voice technology or, you know, like image technology, they're not the danger. They're gonna find innovation. Actually, it's the person that's saying, oh, with this, we don't need this department. You know what I mean? That's what's kind of concerning.
It's happening now already.
Because they're doing it already. They're already doing it in the fintech space. They're already doing it in so many spaces. They're already doing it. And with automation.
A lot of those layoffs that just happened in the tech industry, those jobs are never coming back because AI and automation is about to pop off or popping them.
Correct. So that's where it's concerning more for me, is how it affects, especially, Black executives. I hate to say, let's call a spade, man, for lack of better words, but people of color, who are getting, just getting through the door, and just like, we're not talking like we've been in the rooms. We haven't been in the rooms. We're just getting in the rooms. You get what I'm saying? We're just getting in the rooms already. And now here goes, oh, AI can handle that. We're good. We're good. The humanoid can handle that. We're good, And then from the executives on down, man, to, the Uber drivers making their money, Uber, if they got the car.
Uber got 5 years left. Uber got 5 years left before there's a self-driving fleet.
And they got the robot humanoid that could just drop your food off, go back into the. What are we talking about? What is that person that's surviving on those incomes? It's just we gotta. That's the thing, we gotta really be more concerned. That I don't see the common folk as the enemy. I see the common folk as the people we gotta protect. As the people we gotta make sure that this is somehow gives that element to the everyday man and woman, or else we're gonna have to be on it, not to go into politics, but we're gonna have to be on some universal stipend or something, because
UBIs are coming. UBIs are coming. Universal basic incomes, they're coming, because
they should tax the AI companies to pay for the UBIs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something, man, because it's gonna get real wicked out there, and that's really the concerning thing for me. That's the only real issue and flag I see. The creative side, I love the creative side. I'm with everyone here. I think the creativity is dope. I think putting it in our hands, putting it in the everyday person's hands, and allowing them to create, and just seeing what they come up with and how do we utilize that. is a dope thing.
But there's a legal issue here, though, even on the creative side, but on our safety side is, and Will.i.am brought this up. If you catch the clip of him talking about it, we don't own our voice. No one owns their voice. Artists do not own their voice. That's not part of their likeness deal. The name, image, likeness deal that they sign does not include their voice. So your bio data, your voice, your fingerprint, your eye scan, your facial print, you don't own that. So I can go make a whole record with an artist's voice and not get sued because they don't own their own voice. That's not represented in the copyright. So unless the copyright laws start to change to reflect these synthetic voice deepfakes, they have to rewrite the copyright law to include that, because right now it's Wild West and no one's getting sued because no one owns it.
Damn.
Yeah, we definitely need a new DMCA, a Digital Millennium Copyright Act, in order.
That's what's going to happen.
To the technologies that's happening now.
But if you own your voice, then you can then charge licenses to use your voice. And who uses your voice data? iPhones use it. Your eye scan, your face scan. All these tech companies rely on your bio data. But then now you own it. So now they got to ask you or license it from you or pay you to use your bio data.
I think just came out not that long ago that the U.S. government is collecting biodata on all of its citizens. So with that happening, are they likely to want to incorporate that into a new Copyright Act, or would they try to keep that out anyway so they can kind of own it without there being any repercussions?
No, I mean, I think we should at least own our fingerprint, right? Like if that becomes part of our identification, two-factor authentication, or how we open devices and open doors and open phones, then we should own that. You know, the same thing with our face and our eye scan. It's gonna be it's gonna be our new ID. You're like, everyone's worried about like RFID chips. You don't need that if you're giving everybody access to your bio data to gain entry to places. So like that needs to become your new fucking driver's license. You know what I mean? Like your new ID is your face, your eye, your fingerprint, and your voice. And for artists, there needs to be a way for them to own their own voice if that becomes something that they can license out. Like I just spoke in Hollywood at a voice actor conference, and I'm on the main stage with Clara, and you just see everyone's face went white. They're like, oh shit, we're out of business. Like the entire audience or voice actors who do VO work manually, reading scripts and doing dialogues, they're done. You know what I mean? And like their whole business, their currency was their voice, right? So now they're signing AI deals with the companies like Veritone, Respeecher, where they're like, I'll license my voice to you, and then you get to use it for whatever you want and just pay me a royalty back for where you use it. So the artists need to sign those type of like VO. Yeah. Artists need to sign voiceover deals, basically. It's already there.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. As long as it could be something like that, man, that allows monetization and allows the power to go back to the creatives. That's fair. You know, I think the evolution, we can't stop that though. It's just,
like we're partnered with Respeecher. So Respeecher is a company out of Ukraine. They did the James Earl Jones voice for Darth Vader and the Luke Skywalker voice for Star Wars, where they're like, James Earl Jones, he's done. I mean, he's what, 90 something years old. He's like, yo,
yeah, he's signed off.
I signed it off to Star Wars. Star Wars gave it to Respeecher, and now anytime there's a new Darth Vader scene, it's an AI voice that Respeecher is handling for him.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. I mean, all right. So we've covered a lot. I mean, a good bit of it, I think we have to let life flesh out and see where we land. You know, let this saturation happen. Let these new functionalities, these new ways of doing things happen. This regulation that we need. Let's be proactive in trying to and guide our elected officials the right way, because we know oftentimes They don't do things the right way. Sometimes they get lobbied and that bag outweighs what the right way is, or sometimes they just don't know any better. Lindsey Graham's dumbass, again, I'm gonna keep saying it, on Capitol Hill, asking the wrong questions at the wrong time. It is what it is. But yeah, we have to reconvene at some point and see where we're at. But I think we covered some good ground and what we want to see happen. And yeah, I think we're here, and like we said, the toothpaste is out the tube. It is what it is, and we just got to watch it happen. Gentlemen, I appreciate your time tonight, coming through, being a part of this series. Abran and Grady, C.R.E.A.T.E Labs, thank you so much for being available to us. Ron, Stu, Warner Music, please check out everything on the catalog. Let's keep winning. Defiant Records, signing those New York artists. We're here for it.
Love it.
Please follow everybody on their respective grams. We'll throw that up. Anybody have any last words that they need to say?
Oh man, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see who takes advantage of this first. I mean, Steve-O, Defiant.
Yeah, man.
In the next few, you can see
you already laid out the playbook, man. Someone's got to go grab it.
Yeah, that's it.
No, serious. Thank you, Tat, and you know, serious to all, you know, you brothers as well. You know, if you want to, anytime outside of this, y'all want to chop it up and, you know, bring, you know, anything that the technology, like that Abran specializes on that side and that front, you know, it'll blow your mind. Like he just lightly touched on like 2 or 3 things, but it goes so much deeper than that. And that's what we're really doing. We're just trying to push to make sure our culture and our people are using this tool and have these tools, as Abran said, so it kind of keeps us in a position of having leverage. And
well, I want in ASAP.
Let's go, Steve. I know you want it. Steve's always forward thinking, man. You know, that's a pick you always say about you, man. Like, yeah, you know, my little man Steve, you know, he a shark over there, man. He's sharp.
Trying to get right now. Grady, hit me. Tag, give me Grady number because I'm trying to get this shit done.
On it, we on it. Let's make it happen. And everybody, y'all keep following what we're doing. We're going to be here answering questions, asking the right questions, and trying to get the answers, rather, as this whole thing unfolds, and we're keeping track of it. So we will see you next time. And this has been Tats Talk.
Tats Talk.